What's wrong with your body if you're waking up at the same time every night? Let's dive in and take a look at what your body could be trying to tell you it needs help with. So, a lot of this is based on a traditional Chinese medicine organ clock, and it may sound a little off, but as soon as I say it, you might be able to relate to this. Now, I'm not talking about if it's something random, a one-off. Maybe you've eaten something off and you woke up in the middle of the night just this one or two times, or maybe there's something really stressful happening in your life and that's different. I'm not talking about that. What we're focusing on here is when your body seems to be habitually waking up at around the same time every night within about a 2-hour window continuously. That is your body directly communicating with you. Let's dive in and find out what it's saying. So let's start with the very first one, which I'm going to focus on, which is nighttime, trying to fall asleep. This is from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. So what might happen is you typically go to bed pretty early, you go to sleep, and then you wake up again immediately between the 9 and 11 p.m. time frame. This is what's happening. Or it might be typically you fall asleep early and for some reason you cannot fall asleep 9 p.m. to 11 like you usually do. This might be the problem. This is called the triple burner. It has to do with your endocrine or metabolic system, and this is saying something is off. So what is that usually linked to? Those are your adrenals going off. Adrenals are where we hold stress. Cortisol levels are going off the charts. This is also when you may have digestive overload because there's just too much you can't digest or take in, right? It could be anxiety, might be overthinking, too much going on over and over in your head. This is your signal that you need to de-stress a little bit, specifically before going to bed. So, your sympathetic system is in overload and needs your help. What do? So let's talk about foods first that you can help address this with. Foods that will really help you address this. I'm not talking about eating right before you go to bed. I'm just talking about throughout the day being mindful that you're getting enough of these foods in your body to support that triple burner, okay? Your metabolic system, your endocrine system. Let's go with fats. You need good fats like avocado, good avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil. These are really helpful. Fermented foods are also very helpful as well because that digestion, you've heard of the gut and mind kind of connection. You need to be able to tell the mind, shh, be quiet, chill on the anxiety, and those fermented foods will help. You also need to focus on foods high in vitamin B. That's going to be foods like your mushrooms. It's going to be foods like some nuts and seeds have them in there. That's very, very helpful. And then of course legumes I would toss in there as well, and also make sure that you cut back on the sugar because it can really disrupt things there. So that's what you're going to look at with food. Let's talk about herbs. What herbs can help with this? So we're looking at things that are going to help endocrine system, metabolic system. That's going to be herbs that are nervines. Nervines are de-stressors. So some of my favorite de-stressors are going to be like lavender, chamomile, valerian root is a good one. Catnip makes the cats go crazy, makes the people calm and chill. So we like that one. Skullcap, American skullcap is really good for that as well. And you can even hit some of the heavy hitters like kava kava, wild lettuce. You just want to make sure to rotate those around. You can even do passion flower or lemon balm. So lots of different nervines. I'm mentioning several because when it comes to nervines, you want to make sure not to overdo them and make sure to keep them cycled around and rotate them. That way you never build up a tolerance to just one. So those are good herbs to try. What about habits? Let's talk about habits before going to bed because that's really the time frame we're looking at. No doom scrolling. Get off the phone for a bit. Don't watch some heavy action flick before going to bed. No shoot 'em up bang bangs, right? You need to chill, relax, try a relaxing bath. Try essential oils. There's so many essential oils that are for relaxing. Which ones are good for you? When it comes to essential oils, I tell people do the sniff test. There's gonna be one that you're attracted to for some reason and you don't know why. That's what's going to benefit you the most. There's a reason why you're attracted to it that's relaxing. So yes, of course, lavender, chamomile, some of those are really, really good, but try out different essential oils and see which will hit you just right. You can take 1 drop of essential oil that's really good therapeutic grade and put it on your pillow or right at your temples if you have a really good quality oil. So that's what I recommend for your 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Let's talk about the next one, which is going to be 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. This is the gallbladder. Yep, this is your gallbladder speaking to you. Kind of common that this happens. And it's where we hold indecisiveness, self-doubt. It's where we hold regret and literally undigested fat, which means things that we have not finished processed and we're just not sure what to do about, right? That's what's happening during that time frame. So from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., this is what your body's trying to tell you to focus on. Okay, so what foods do we focus on for that? Foods for the gallbladder are going to be things that are really high in fiber. These are going to be your really nice whole grains, oatmeals. These type of things are going to be very helpful. Apples are very helpful with the skin and the peel on because that's where the fiber is, right? Your leafy greens, dark leafy greens, very, very helpful fiber for that. And then I would also look at berries of any and all kind. Those are the foods that are going to support you the most for the gallbladder. What about herbs for the gallbladder? Lots you can play with. I would focus on milk thistle, and I would focus on turmeric and ginger and fenugreek. So turmeric, ginger, fenugreek are going to actually stimulate the bile in the gallbladder to get things moving. It's the flow you want. You want to help everything to flow. That's the problem with the gallbladder. When we're indecisive, we get stuck with worry and doubt and everything stops and it gets clogged up, if you will. We want flow. We want it to move. And that's what those herbs are going to help stimulate to get things going. Habits. Let's talk about what habits are going to help you most for gallbladder. I really prefer going to meditation. It's where you can quiet the mind, empty the mind. Not a specific busy meditation where you're focusing on something. This is a quiet everything. Turn the lights out, make it go blank for a moment, and just sit in stillness. Doing this before bed, very, very helpful. Also, making sure that you leave all your planning and decision making out of that last 2 or 3 hours before going to bed. Don't discuss big plans. Don't worry about the next day. You need to have all that done at least 3 hours before bed. Don't want to sit there trying to make decisions before you go to sleep. It's just going to keep you up and that makes everything worse. I like to journal before bed. It's where you can kind of get your thoughts out and it's very, very helpful. And I also highly recommend doing a gallbladder flush. So there's a way that you can cleanse the gallbladder, flush out the excess gallbladder stones that might be there. That's really what your body needs, is help moving things out of the gallbladder. And also it really helps if you can limit your alcohol intake before bed. I know a lot of people like to use that to help them go to bed, but there are other herbs you can hit for that, like those nervines we discussed earlier. So try some different habits if your gallbladder is what's getting you going. So let's go on to the next one. So this is actually the most common time that people wake up, and that's 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. This is your liver. It's really, really common. The liver is where we hold anger, frustration, irritability. It's where we really hold on to our toxins. The liver's job is to filter toxins. That is our filter. When the filter is full or clogged, it's not filtering toxins, and we have toxin overload in our entire body. This is what wakes most people up in the middle of the night from 1 to 3, because it is very common. We live in a very toxic society, and there are toxins everywhere. What kind of toxins am I talking about? They could be food toxins, eating junk food, right? It could be environmental toxins. It could be mold. It could be things outside in the air. It could be even EMFs. It could be all sorts of toxins, from prescription medications to off-gassing from paints and furniture that are really nasty chemical based. There are so many different toxins that we're exposed to all the time. And our liver needs some support to help move those toxins out of the body. So if you're waking up during this time from 1 a.m. until 3 a.m., it could also be a blood deficiency, because that can happen in the liver because it's not working properly. Once the liver is working properly, everything is flowing way better. So you need to detox the liver. I highly recommend doing a liver flush or cleanse, and you can actually do a great gallbladder and liver flush and cleanse. There's a woman named Dr. Hulda Clark. I love her gallbladder liver cleanse. And you can get gallstones out and liver stones. People had no idea, but yes, your liver can hold stones. This is undigested fats and toxins that just cannot go anywhere. When you do this cleanse, you will literally see those stones come out when you do it properly. So here's what I recommend, though, is that you let everybody in the house know if you're doing a liver flush, because the liver, again, is where we hold anger and frustration. And oftentimes when we flush that out, guess what might happen 24 to 48 hours after that flush? Rawr! So just let everyone know, oh, please excuse me, I may be a little cranky for a couple of days when you do that flush, but it will be very beneficial, and you'll feel it. Your whole skin, body, everything will feel it, and you will feel even to have a little more energy during the daytime because your filter is no longer clogged. Let's talk about foods for the liver. Foods for the liver are going to be beets, dandelion greens, any type of actually dark leafy green, really helpful to clean it up. Turmeric, of course. I love lemon water for this, really helpful to get the liver going and cleaned up. Garlic, also very helpful. Raw, even better, but if you just can't tolerate raw, it's okay to do cooked. You will get some benefit from that. Those are the foods I focus on to help support the liver during the day. Let's talk about herbs. So herbs for the liver, I would stick with milk thistle. Notice how that also helps the gallbladder, because the gallbladder leads right into the liver, and when you hit one, you hit the other. Very helpful, right? I also like burdock root. This is going to help clean the blood and get things flowing and support the liver. It's a really good one. I love dandelion. Dandelion root, dandelion leaf, any type of dandelion's amazing for supporting the liver and helping to nourish it, and that's what it needs. And then there's another Chinese medicine herb that isn't as common here, but I really like it. It's called Dan Shen. The reason I like it for the liver is it will literally do liver repair. It repairs the tissue in the liver. So if you have had a problem with things that hit the liver hard, maybe it's alcohol, too much cannabis, whatever it is, maybe it's medication that the doctors had you on and you're now cleaning it up, and you found that you may have cirrhosis of the liver, or something has happened damage-wise, has started to begin there, Dan Shen is very helpful to go and repair that. Yes, the liver can be repaired. It really can, with the right foods, herbs, and lifestyle. So this is what I love about the human body and nature, right? It's fixable. So what about habits for the liver? Well, habits for the liver, I really like breath work before going to bed. Breathe through that anger and frustration. Very specific things you can learn. You can go online and learn good breath work for that. And of course, I like to journal and just release it all. Just get it out. It's very helpful. Sometimes I will go outside and just release my frustrations at the tree or the ground, right? Get it out of my system, then come back inside and relax before bed. This is very helpful to get it kind of going and moving, and no stagnation here in the liver, it's flowing. These are things that'll help. So the next place where people find is the second most common problem, and that is 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. This is the lung meridian. These are the lungs. This is the second most common problem. Lungs are where we hold sadness, grief, depression. It's where we hold on to trauma we haven't released. And it's also where we may be thinking through identity issues or responsibility issues. So we hold all of that in our lungs. And if you think about it, is very interesting. Those who choose to smoke are trying to quell that and satisfy that depression. That's really what they're looking at, and really kind of quell and quiet down trauma. It's very, very common. But if this is waking you up during this time, it definitely is getting your attention. You know what it is. You're typically going to find then during the waking hours you have problems with the lungs. This is asthma. It might be allergies, shortness of breath, COPD. You may find that your immune system is just a little bit weaker. That's because your lungs are really looking for some help from you. So, what foods are going to help with that? Foods for the lungs. My favorite, of course, leafy greens. Are you seeing a pattern here? Eat your greens, right? I love leafy greens because they actually are chlorophyll. They take in the sun energy, and the sun is happiness and brightness. And then you just take that chlorophyll right in your body and you get, your spirits are lifted, right? Berries are also very helpful, good antioxidants for that. Omega-3s, high omega-3s, that's going to be your hemp seed, hemp oil, walnut seed, walnut oil, flax seed, flax oil. If you do meats, that's going to be your salmon, your tuna, right? Citrus, your lemons, your oranges, your limes. Citrus is happy, uplifting. It will literally help with lungs and clearing them as well. The other thing are magnesium type foods, and this is going to be found, and tryptophan foods. So these will both be found in pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, sunflower seeds. You'll find it in other foods, cashews, walnuts. So those are all very, very helpful to support the lungs during the day. What about herbs for the lungs? So there's a lot of different herbs for the lungs depending on what it is that you're specifically honing in on. Mullins is going to clear something if you're sick and have congestion and mucus, but let's talk about really truly getting the lung function to work better. This is going to be licorice root. Licorice root is great. Some people with autoimmune disorders, if you have a tendency to have low blood pressure, this is not for you, but otherwise licorice root is a really good one to try out. I also really like working with passion flower and lemon balm. Passion flower helps with trauma and releasing it. Lemon balm, again, is going to help lift your spirits out of depression. Just a caution with lemon balm, if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's disease, if that one's not for you. But one of my favorites by far for the lungs is elecampane. Now, this is not one you're doing before bed because it can be a little bit of a stimulant, but during the day, it stimulates everything going through and flowing through the lungs. Really, really helpful. I love that one. Then the other one I like is holy basil. This is a great adaptogen. So the depression's not so bad. You're not hitting low lows or high highs. It's a little more balanced. That's a really good one. And you can do that one right before bed because it's very relaxing. So what about those habits? Diaphragm, breath work. You can do diaphragm exercises that will strengthen your lungs, which is great. Very, very helpful. I also like releasing things again through journaling and making sure you can get things out, right? I also like to go and sit by a tree when I do some meditation and lung work because literally that is oxygen. That's taking everything in, right? That's that chlorophyll. And anytime you can get liquid chlorophyll in you, very, very helpful to support the lungs and oxygen moving in and out, right? So let's go to the last one. So the last one is 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. And this may be if you wake up intentionally, like you're setting your alarm in between this time, you're like, oh, I always wake up then. No, I'm not talking about if you always wake up because you've set your alarm. I'm talking about if you typically sleep in and you aren't setting your alarm, but for whatever reason, your body's waking you up always before your alarm from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., that's what we're talking about, and that's the large intestines trying to get your attention. Large intestines are about letting go. It's about being flexible, letting go of control and allowing more flow. It's also where we have overthinking issues happening, right? So you might find if you have large intestine problems of this nature, you're going to find that you're backing up and the bowels just aren't moving as much. That's typically your clue that your large intestines need some support, and you need to work on being more flexible in your life and in your thinking and thought process. Okay, what foods are going to help support that? Foods for the large intestines. Well, we want to let go of the whole perfectionism idea, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect, but let's talk about what foods you can start to include that will help. Aloe vera, very helpful. It's literally will help with inflammation in the intestine lining and get things moving. If you do too much, it'll move too much, so warning there. But also flax seeds, prunes or plums. I love pears to get things moving and flowing, right? Ginger. Ginger's a great stimulator of the bowels, and lemon water, very, very healing to the guts and intestines. So those are really helpful foods that you can include. What about herbs? Herbs for large intestines. If you need things to move because they're just not moving, I usually look at senna or Cascara sagrada. These are very, very helpful to get things moving. Are those herbs you want to do every single day? No. Because if your body is working like it should, you should not have to help it all the time. Unless you're on medication or have a specific condition where that is something that your body can't help anymore. That's different. But the idea is you're hitting it, stimulating it so that your body can do its own work. This is why I include foods, thought, and then of course habits, right? So what habits? Habits for large intestine is going to be morning stretches, yoga. You want to stretch the diaphragm big so that you can get everything moving the way it should, and that is very helpful. You can also do massage. Very, very helpful to massage right here in a circle. You want to do clockwise circles around your guts to make sure everything in the intestines are flowing and moving. So hopefully all of this has helped give you a little bit more insight as to what your body's trying to tell you when you're waking up at the same time in the middle of the night and how you can approach it. Again, remember it's a journey of new habits and including new things in your life and maybe reframing and restructuring some things. Hopefully this has been helpful for you because one of the things I love is that natural healing is totally doable.